Gradually Speaking. I'm your host, Vansh. Today, I'm here with an engineer, business transformation specialist, and an entrepreneur, Mr. Prikankshit Mor, ladies and gentlemen. So, hey man, how are you doing today?
I am good. And Vansh, thank you so much for having me as a guest on this podcast. Pretty excited. So let's see how it goes.
Right. So, a little background on this guy. He did his computer science engineering degree from India. And so, let's just get started at that. How did you get into engineering and how did you kind of get that idea of doing engineering?
So, from a very young age, again, everyone has this thing of they're excited about. My excitement was cars, and I would open them up and put them back together, and that's how I got into problem solving. That's what it was. And for a lot of people, maybe who have been to India or have had their undergrad from India, know that there's something called JEE, the examination that you have to give to get into schools. And since I was very much interested in sciences, that looked like the best step, and went through it and got myself into engineering. Specifically, computer science was because I got hooked to pretty early to gaming, and I always wanted to build one of my games myself, and that's how I was like, oh, I want to go and be able to have those skill set to build a game. That's how engineering, and then specifically computer science engineering, happened.
Wow. So, you talked about J. It's like one of the most difficult exams in the whole world. So, how did you deal with that pressure? Especially, you had pressure from basically the society as well to perform good, because that's what the exam is like. So, how did you kind of deal with that?
Uh, that was one of those times, like couple of you shut yourself down. You have to work towards it because the end goal is so important that you have to shut down the noise which is around. 100% the society had its own pressure on you, let alone society, your families, your relatives. Everyone's looking at you like, oh, is he preparing? Oh, is he going to get into those? And as you know, JEE takes you to either IITs, which are the top notch, then it comes the NITs and the triple ITs, and then the other schools. The pressure was immense, to be really frank, but I found my solace in solving problems, solving mathematical problems, physics, and it's in own world. I think so that was a great motivation because you keep solving problems and keep moving forward. So I think so that's how I dealt with most of it, and got into a hobby of reading and writing a bit of shairi, poetry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to keep it myself. Wrote a lot during those 2 years because it's a journey where you're mostly alone. You cannot go and talk to your parents and tell them is like, oh, this is what I'm feeling. They'll be like, just brush it off. It's just 2 more years. Just finish it off. Just reach the finish line. So yeah, you need to have a hobby during that to just vent it off.
Right, I understand. So, obviously, engineering is like approached a lot back home, right? Almost every other guy is an engineer now. But the most important part, I feel like, is actually retaining skills from your degree. So, how did you retain those problem solving skills during your time there?
So I feel like engineering is just not about skills, as you said. Like it gives you the skills, but it's an experience. I remember those days when we're sitting and then we're gaming, and all of a sudden we realize that, oh my god, we have an examination in 8 hours. So that's a problem solving skill as well. But fun things aside, but how do you go about it is like you bring it in your daily life. You're solving for something, you're trying to build something, and then you start to see problems in your day-to-day life, and it's like, oh, what if I have to do so and so thing, and I can use these skills which I've built on because now I have an engineering degree. And then you start to see the world in a very different way. You'll start to see stuff, and you'll be like, oh, how was this built, or what can I do to make it better? And that keeps on moving day by day. I'll give you a very small example. I know you wanted to touch upon it a bit later on, but while at Triple IT, when I was doing my engineering, I got into a lot of social activities. I wanted to be in student council and stuff like that. And when we started building it, and when I was there, I realized that a lot of our events were still done on pen and paper. And a lot of things were still happening on pen and paper. This was my second year in my engineering, and I was like, why can't we build something? Because again, I saw a problem and I wanted to work on it. And that's how you start building stuff, how your vision of the world changes, and you keep doing that in every aspect of your life. So that's how you keep retaining them and using them.
Right. So you did talk about student councils. I wanted to touch up more on that. Could you describe your experience? Like, so you have all these engineers who are doing the same degree as you,
Yes.
right? How do you stand out? How do you go and get yourself involved?
So again, a background, those 2 years when you're preparing for JEE, you're shot. You have no one to talk to. And the only thing that you can do is study. That takes away from your social skills, takes away from your confidence, because what else you can do? And that was me. But I made a promise to myself when I entered engineering that I am going to build other skills as well, because talking to someone or organizing something is also a skill. Within my first year, I realized that there was someone always better who can code better than me. I'm competing with 150 students in my batch, and everyone can code. So how do I stand out? And I always wanted to stand out, and I wanted to do something that I haven't tried. I've always been the guy who always found a way, and I was like, no, you have to be different. You have to get something out of it. And learning is something that I've always loved. I was like, how do I learn this? I'm like, let's learn from experiences. And that's how council happened. Council happened in my second year, and I was pretty new. Didn't know anything, was very shy on confidence, didn't know how to talk to people, didn't know where I was going, what I wanted to do. But I was like, let's take a jump. And that's what I tell everyone. A couple of students I've talked to, few of the young alumni who I've been talking to and mentoring, and everyone has had the same question, is like, what do I do? How do I do it? It's that millisecond of shyness that you have to jump. And that's what I did. One day I just went in and said, like, I want to apply for this position. I did it. And I was trembling when I came out, because now I realized I had to prepare a whole campaign of things that I wanted to get into. And that is scary. But on the journey, I found a couple of friends who were confident. It's like, we feel like you can do it. Go do it. And face your demons. Take the chances. Be reckless. Because when you're a student, you can be reckless in the things when you're teaching and getting the skills. Don't be reckless in the sense of something where you're endangering the society, but be reckless and be fearless when you want to try something. If you want to jump and you're like, okay, I want to do this, and you're scared, don't be. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? Someone will tell that, like, nah, we're not going to select you. Fine, I'll come back again, and you'll work on your skills which you wanted. So that's how the student council happened. My experience was great. It has given me so much that I couldn't have asked for anything else. I go back to those skills that I built when I was 17, 18 years old, and trying to host an event, getting people there, trying to solve problems again during those events. I think so that is where it played a huge role. And also my experience with the council and learning organization got me my first startup. That ended up being my thesis for my undergrad. I worked on that for 3 years. I was 17 when we first founded it. And that happened because while I was working with the council, I came across the problem that I was telling you. We were still using pen and paper because softwares in 2016 or 2015 at that time was really expensive to go and ask a ticketing company to do something for you. They're going to ask you royalty. But you're a student-run organization. You don't have money. You want to do it free of cost, but you want to make the experience amazing. And that's where the drive and that's where the problem solving started to move towards real life problems for me. And the first startup happened. Me and my friends did it. We ran it. And I think so that's why I've been really, really thankful to the university itself, where I did my undergrad, because they were very supportive. and also the experiences with the council where you're like, oh, I can solve this problem. Let's try it out, and everyone was ready.
Wow. Wow, that's really fascinating. So you talked about your first startup,
Yes.
and it had to do with ticket systems.
Yes.
And I believe you told me that it had to do something with a QR code when the QR code was not used as widely. So could you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So basically, we created a software,
Mhm.
a platform. So it was a two-way platform, which was also dealing with the B2C, which would be the people who are attending the events, and a B2B, which was also dealing with event organizers. So while I was doing events and for my college, I realized that there was a huge gap. And when we're talking about gaps, there's always a solution, right? That's the problem-solving brain jumps in. So we were looking at few of the technologies that we could code in, and we realized that QR codes in 2015 were not widely used. Everyone was still using a barcode machine, and I'm like, that's expensive. You have to buy barcode systems. You cannot scan. But one of my friends was working on a project in which they were looking how to scan QR codes using phone cameras. And then he's like, oh, I can scan it. It takes me to a link. And I'm like, perfect. Let's try on this. So we created a system in which you register. You do not have to create an account because we, all the three of us who were involved, were annoyed. How many accounts and how many spams did we have on our emails? Because every time you have to go and buy a ticket, they'll be like, hey, come, put an account with us. We're like, we won't do that. So you could just put in your email or a phone number, whichever was your preference, to get a ticket one time. We won't keep your data. We won't keep you anything. You put in the information and you receive the QR code as a link, either on your phone or your email address. You show up on the day of. On the day of, the event organizer will have their own phones. Everyone has an Android or an iPhone, right? You have your phone. You log into the application that we've provided you. You go in, you tap, it scans automatically, tells you on the pop-up, oh, the ticket's good. So and so is the person, let them in. So this, because we used cloud computing in this one, and at that time no one was doing it. Like thinking about it, 2015, 16, no one was even thinking about is like, oh, what is the server time? And we were like, oh, we'll bring in the efficiency. And that's where the thesis project also came in, because when we presented them, my dean was like, I feel like you are doing such a new technology. I feel like start writing a paper on it. So we published a paper, we did the thesis on it, and we basically got a whole semester just doing a startup because they found that it was so unique. One, we're making money, but also the technology was pretty new.
Wow. No, I know this is very hard to do, especially in India, because our curriculum is so theory oriented that there's just no room for experiential learning. Like, so you have always made your own path. We are gonna touch upon this a bit later, but even when you came here, like, I know we talked about this,
Yeah.
but it went along the lines of you wrote your own job description. That's so fascinating to me, especially as an international student who's trying to find his voice and who's trying to find his way. It's hard. It's hard, and you clearly understand that. So, yeah, let's talk about your second startup. I know I did my research on it. You basically dealt with MDF sheets.
Yes.
And your startup's called Crowstar Panels. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the first startup, we all graduated in 2017. I know I'm aging myself on that, but yeah, 2017, everyone graduated, and we sold off our startup to one of the bigger people, and then I was like, what's next? So I went into corporate, where everyone goes, I think so, which was consulting with Deloitte. And after that, I spent few years, like a year there with Deloitte. And while working there, I still had this deal. I was like, I want to do something else again. I'm like, I enjoyed the time when I was doing it, and it was something I was building for myself. So one of my friends reached out and it's like, hey, we want to build up a factory for MDF and SDHF boats. and would you be interested in? And I'm like, dude, I have no clue of manufacturing. I have never done manufacturing, and I don't even know how the plywood factories work. It's like, but we want your technology and the automation piece that you always end up finding a solution for. Come and see how a normal factory runs, and then we can sit together and see if you're interested. And that's how I got involved in Grossa Panels. So the factory produces MDF and HDHF boards, which are fire resistant, water resistant, and whole shebang. But these factories are heavily dependent on labor. At any given point, on a payroll of a factory as big as ours, you would have about 150 people working at any given day. And it's a labor problem. You'll have to get contractors to do other jobs. What I did in this was identified areas where we could bring in machinery and automation. So sat down, did my research, reached out to international wholesalers who had machinery, and China, everyone knows, is great in manufacturing. Identified what machinery we can get from there, which is cheap, which can help us develop a code. So I became basically the project lead for the whole thing, which was the automation piece of our factory. Brought in a couple of servers, brought in 3 or 4 machines, and we started creating automation. So it's called the robotic process automation. If I go with the exact term, it's called the RPAs. A lot of consultings do it, but they do it in the term of generally tech or software or wherever they can get it, like automating payroll and stuff like that. But we automated the machinery itself, manufacturing. So in a place where you would need 7 or 8 people to do it, now you need one person to press the button, and the machine already takes the input from the second machine that's there. And that's what I got into. And that's, as I said, learning was everything. I had to study for 6 months. All of a sudden, it felt like I was doing another degree on a short period of time. And since it was a partnership, never got paid for it, but I got paid as one of the co-founders and a partner. And I have a stake in the company now. It's still running with my partners in India, and I was still overlooking the manufacturing as well as the any other project that we're building as part of the factory until I came and did my MBA.
Wow. Okay. So a follow-up question on that, obviously. In our industry, I feel like it's constantly changing. So we need to have that skill of learning any given piece of content in 24 hours. So how important was that skill in your career?
Oh, absolutely. I can. There's a very interesting line. I don't know a lot of. I used to watch a lot of Marvel movies.
Oh.
There's a very interesting line. Tony Stark says that when did you? So Captain America asks him like, when did you become an expert on this? And he goes like, last night. And that's the epitome of an engineer, if you ask me. I have friends around the world who are working in different aspects. Multiple times you'll find us sitting on Discord talking to each other. Most of the time playing games. Like, that's what we do. We were playing game, and this is so unique that it happened yesterday. We were playing a game, and one of our friends said like, man, my laptop's not working. This is the problem which is coming on. And we have a friend who's pretty great at this thing. And he started sending him links and like, oh, read this one and try this and then try this and try this. He is not in that job. It's his just passion is like, I want to learn about how chips work and how RAMs work and then everything works. And then all of a sudden we start talking about it. So you build that community around you and you'll realize how important it becomes, because not everyone does the same thing. Not everyone is great in everything. Like me identifying, yes, I can't be better, and that's something that engineers possess, and it's very good that engineers don't get jealous of each other. If you're not good at a certain language, you can go and learn a second language. If you're not good at it, go and learn the third. There are like 50 languages you can learn and you become an expert on it, and you're never competing with the friend that you're sitting next to. So learning is so important that you have to keep learning. And there will be times when you're doing a project and you're stuck. What do you do now? You go back, you restudy, you identify resources that you can get, and pretty quickly bring out a solution, thinking on your feet. That's very important.
Right. So I believe that skill also helped you with your startups, as you said. So after founding these companies at such a young age, what made you kind of go back to that safe route of getting a job at Deloitte? Because trust me, like Deloitte is like everyone's dream, right? So what made you want to get a job after basically being an entrepreneur?
Perfect. It ties to a couple of things, to be really frank. Society, parents, no one was talking about entrepreneurship, no one was talking about startups. In 2015, 16, 17, when I was graduating, everyone was like, you're such a good student, you know how to do it, why don't you want to go to consulting? And that was, again, never wanted to. But again, that need of learning stuff, because I wanted to learn. And because we're talking about lack of support, we didn't even have an incubator in 2017. 2016, I put in a request to the director and the dean, and I'm like, hey, if you guys can incubate us for 1 year, I promise you I'll give you 10%. And just let us run from here. We need an office. We can't afford anything outside. If you can give us something for free of cost. They had nothing, no policies, nothing. Everything came in 2018 when I became an alumni, and then called me back. It's like, hey, we're gonna start this program for the incubator in the university, and let's do it. And I'm like, but now's not the time. I asked you when I was ready, and you never did it. And then also, you have to find a safe space somewhere. I did not have a very strong backing. I did not have a lot of money in the bank, and I was like, let's try something. Let's start building. And choosing Deloitte was also a very strategic decision on my end. I could have easily gone to Amazon. I had an offer from them. I had an offer from Microsoft. And then also I had an offer from, which was the other one? I forgot. A startup. Because they were like, come in and I will put you as a VP of product. You've already done it. And I'm like, no, I want to do consulting. Consulting happened because Deloitte gave me the exposure, and I knew I was going to get that exposure. I was their cyber consultant. So still keeping my CSE degree intact, still learning on it. And I'm like, I want to learn how these big companies work, and Deloitte gives you that experience on that. So applied for the job, got an interview, presented, and there's a fun story in that. I was in the final round, and they were like, we want to reject you. Straight to my face. And I'm like, why? He's like, you're not a typical person who'll sit down and work. I am so sure. And I'm like, why do you say so? I'm like, no, sir, I'll sit and I'll work. And imagine I'm 21-year-old, I'm trying to sell myself. I'll say whatever I have to say to the manager sitting in front of me to convince him to hire me. And he's like, no. He's like, you have this thing, you want to be an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver. I can see the way you even answer my questions are more on solving problems rather than keeping your boss or your manager happy. And he's like, that's the problem. And I'm like, sir, maybe take a risk. There will be a project there where you might need me. And then I convinced him, and I came out of the room and I'm like, sure, I'm not going to get it. But surprise, surprise, they put my name in, and they're like, okay, we're going to take a risk on you. Even though we feel like you're too open-minded for us to work. Because these corporations require people who solve problems, but follow a certain path. They want straight liners. I was not one of those. Great experience, had crazy learning. I was one of the most fast-tracked consultant when I was there. No one has been on more projects than me in a single year. I did 3 projects in a single year. 2 was external, 1 was internal. They ended up pulling me inside. They're like, we feel like you can do more work internal. Worked with 2 financial banks. Was responsible for implementation of their CRM. So one was Adobe, the other one Oracle. Again, consulting gives you this opportunity of learning. They gave me ample money. It's like, go do your certification, go learn this thing, and that you can bring out and then implement everywhere. Robotic process automation certification happened when I was at Deloitte, which I used when I went for my second startup.
Wow. So let's get the timeline right. So you founded the ticketing company in your second year?
Second year. I was 18.
And then you you worked on that startup for 2 years?
Three.
3 years.
Till 2017.
So till your graduation.
Yes.
And then after graduation, you got the job at Deloitte.
Yes.
And then you went ahead for your
Second startup.
with the MGF
Yes.
panels. Oh. Wow. Right. So as an entrepreneur who has had experience with like founding companies, one of the main issues right now for anyone in engineering who has an idea is that their idea is already exists. Like, so how do you find that niche in the market?
So what if the idea exists? That's what I'm gonna say. One problem which I'm seeing, and a lot of people say that it's not even a problem, but I feel, and a couple of my friends who are still in entrepreneurship with whom I work on project to project basis, couple of people that bring me in whenever they're having their own startups, is, man, how do we make a product so that we can sell and get money, right? Right now, if you see, the industry is more focused on how do I raise money rather than solve a problem. You'll realize that the amount of bootstrapped startups right now are so less that you can count them on your fingers. And that's because of the culture that have been brought in by the incubators. Like, we'll incubate it. You pay us money so that we can incubate you, and then also go and get money. If you raise some money, we'll take a cut on that or a percentage on it. And I did 2 startups completely bootstrapped. Everything that we have, and I have right now in the factory even, it's a loan which was taken on ourselves based off the money that I made off of my first startup. I was like, okay, this is the down payment I'm going to do. The other 7 came in together and we did it. It's a big group because it's a big project that we're doing. The amount of money that goes into that factory and that brand is too much to handle alone. So that's why 7 people have it. And coming to your point is like, how do you find that niche? That niche comes when you go for experiences, when you keep trying things. When we initially created the event solution, I'll give you that example because we're talking about tech a lot right now, is that first solution was just a Google form where we started from. It's like, I just want to get sheets, I want to get forms, I don't want to do this paper and pen thing. And then you evolve. The evolution in that startup was unreal because we were students and we were looking at technology changes every now and then. Because when you are in academia, one class you have with someone and the second class you'll have different people and you start talking to them and you're like, oh, this is interesting. I was working on this project, but your technology might help me in that project. And that's how you evolve. And when it comes to finding your niche, like absolute niche, you can find a niche pretty quickly, or you can work on an idea and make it better and more efficient in comparison to what it already is. Was like, everyone says that was this company the first company which did it. Multiple examples. Not every time the first mover advantage is the right advantage. But the thing that I would say is keep learning, keep studying, and keep experiencing. Keep looking for that problem around you. One very short example I'll take is one of my friends loved Indian food when he came here, but he was also lazy enough not to make it. So they started working on an application which just gives you Asian food now, South Asian food. So it's running in I think so in Brampton and Mississauga. Only South Asian foods because it's specific to that niche, and that niche came because he wanted it. Right? So the niche comes from your conversations, from your experiences, wherever you are going. Or the niche comes that I want to make it efficient. I want to make it profitable. Right? So depending upon how and where you are in your journey, you choose either you go for the niche or you go for the efficiency.
Right. So a follow-up question on that. So you have seen a lot of people try a lot of things, right? And you have seen people try various business ideas. So where do you think they find more success, when they try to chase that niche or when they try to chase efficiency?
I've seen people with crazy niche, best idea. I'm talking about the idea that you hear and you're like blown. You're like, oh my god, how did you even come up with? Fail.
Oh,
Because it's either it's too early for them or they are not able to sell it, right? Efficiency is fine, but your product is going to work if someone wants to use it, right? Imagine I create a product which has like 20 people who want to use it. Products, unique products, amazing products, super efficient. Will someone use it? No. They'll be like, no, I don't want to use it, man. This is not that great. So you need to find that balance where you're like, okay, this product is niche. Let's hope it's not that niche enough, right? For example, you're like, oh, let's create it. And you create some problem which is very unique to you. I get it. And then you're like, oh, this product is amazing. This works perfectly. But then you realize is like, oh my God, people are not going to use it because no one else have the same requirements as me.
right.
So those requirements come first and then the efficiency comes after that. There's a story about three brothers. I don't know if you know this. This is a very popular story in entrepreneurship. These three brothers had zero original ideas. They looked at what websites were working in North America. They created dupes in European countries for them. For example, the biggest and the most money that they made off was eBay.com. So eBay was big and they looked at eBay and like, oh, eBay is nice. So they created an eBay for Serbia, a eBay for Croatia, eBay for Latvia. And then the same thing, they started doing exactly what eBay did because eBay was not registered there at that time. And big countries. And then eBay realized like, oh, we need to expand to these. What do we do? But these companies already existed. So they bought them off. Each one of them came out with $300 million just by creating dupes.
Wow. So my understanding is you don't need to recreate the wheel. You just need to pay attention to your audience, right?
Exactly.
It's just like doing an art, right? It's just like music or dance. It's paying attention to your audience and what the audience needs and how it is reacting to your message, right?
100%. Just take a very small example. 2017, I remember this because I took a course in cybersecurity. No one was talking about it, right? Building a cybersecurity product in 2017 was seen as like, what are you doing? Who's going to use it or who's going to put in the money? Say it right now. Everyone wants something because ransomwares have increased. It's also the growth and the time. My professor in one of my courses in my MBA used to show us this beautiful arc. Is like, okay, this is when your initial users come, and then comes the other arc, which is like, okay, you have got some tension, people are going to use it, and then comes when the product's there, and then the product's declines happen. He said 95%, and it's reports 95% would not cross the first two stages. Because yes, you have found the niche, you have found it, but you never took it to the people. People don't even know how to use it and why to use it. Same example is your ChatGPT. Come on, if someone was working on AI in 2020, 2018, 19, no one wanted anything to do with it. Right now, if you use those keywords, AI and ML, oh my God, you can sell 3 startups in one day. I'm not even kidding. And that goes back to my initial point that every incubator and every investment person wants this to show on their profile. Is like, hey, we have an AI startup in our portfolio. Oh, we have an ML startup in our portfolio. They do not know that it's just a wrapper on a chat GPT. It's just the way they sold it. They found their niche, they sold it off, and people are happy about it.
Yes, so that also says a lot about the job market, right? And the current job market, especially for CS, I mean, you have seen the memes, you have seen the big articles. So I just want to get your opinion on how bad do you think it is?
It's bad. I would not sugarcoat it. I won't say that. But there's always opportunities. I'll say that. If you've been following the job market and if you're reading about it, you'll find there's a trend that these big companies are laying off people and they're not hiring them. And I'll tell you something very interesting. This is because they went above their capacity. There were not enough jobs when they hired them. It was a COVID scenario where they went crazy and they wanted more and more people. They're like, because the efficiency is going to go down because people are working from home, and then they realized, oh my god, we cannot sustain it. Just an example from the three big ones, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. The layoffs is not because they lack money or they are making less profits. They have the money. Their cash reserves are untouched. They still have the money, and they're doing amazingly well on business front. Why they want to get rid? Because most of these people are doing nothing. You get hired in COVID. No one's looking at you. You do 3 projects, and now when the efficiency thing starts to come in and kick in, they start to read it like, oh, you're not writing a lot of it. I know a lot of it is also based on how business works like, because Amazon and Microsoft laid off some SVPs. The reason they laid them off was because their maturity of stocks was coming in and they wanted to save that money too. But yes, it's a bit tough, but it's also a great opportunity for you. And for everyone who's out there listening to this or working on something, create your own project. You'll find amazing coders, amazing software devs, amazing people who can create things from scratch for you, because they at this point are fed up by the uncertainty that tech brings with them. You do not know next day what's going to happen with you. There are so many people you'll find. Yes, a bad market creates it tougher for people, but it also roots out the weeds that might be there. You will see a lot of people who are great at it, do not have the skills, but still had amazing jobs throughout their time period. But now they are the ones who are getting targeted because the companies are realizing is like, hey, I can get a better person than him. So that is still happening. If you're good at your skill, if you're good at what you do, it might take some time, but you'll get there. And it also creates an opportunity for you to create your own product. When everything's cheap for you right now, if you see there are 20,000, let's just hypothetically assume you have 20,000 engineers who are looking for work and will take any work you give them. Isn't this a great opportunity to come and start working on your own startup and be like, hey, come work with me. I know you're looking for a job. In the meantime, this will help you develop your skill sets. And when it's time, you'll have a great product from someone who already knows how to work in a corporate. The code would be nice, the product would be clean, and you not be worried about is like, what if it breaks? So I feel like it's two ways. Yes, it's difficult for people who want to get jobs and do everything, but it also a great opportunity for you to build your own skill, because now if you make a higher skill and get hired at this point when it is tougher to get a job, when the market eases up, you would be already 3 steps ahead from the competition that's sitting next to you.
Right. So there are 2 elements that I believe are important for a new graduate or just anyone in the industry who's trying to find a job. It is a mix of technical skills and soft skills. So what do you think the ratio is? Like, I know it differs from person to person, but do you feel like a person with just technical skills, like the best technical skills in the world, will be able to land a job with just those skills in today's market?
If we talk about Canada,
let's put it under a general umbrella, so like worldwide.
Okay, so since we were talking about this, my current job takes me around the world, right? I travel and I see job markets everywhere. If you're just someone with 100% on your technical skill set, it's very tough for you to get a job. You might not be even getting in. Like, you'll get a lot of interviews because your resume is gonna clean up everyone around it. But as soon as you start talking, they'll be like, oh, this person might not be a good fit for us, which is becoming a more and more important for everyone. You will see, and this has been the trend in the industry right now, is they would go for someone who's a great team player but not that great on tech skills. I can give you so many examples on it. So many. You still need to have soft skills. Unless and until you're creating your own product, I don't think so anyone's taking a chance on that reclusive tech geek guy which used to get the most amount of money or used to be the guy that everyone went when the problem was there. You need to still develop your soft skills here and there, and take that chance of like, okay, let's build on this or let's build on that, and stuff like that. A very short example that I'll give you, I know someone who's working in a company as a tech consultant but does not have a tech degree.
Wow.
Because the person sold himself. He knew how to sell himself, and now there are days when he just have to work and learn. Again, he's an engineer, obviously, but the degree was never in tech. He is a tech consultant. What does he do whenever he gets stuck? Whenever he can't understand code? He goes back, relearns, use multiple online websites that he can find, courses that he can find. Every time he starts a new project, learns about what the language is, and then he does it. The guy is a hustler. He does not have the tech skill that someone else would have, and the other person would be like, why didn't I get the job? I know 10 languages at this point. Why can't I be that guy? Because you didn't sell yourself properly. The hiring manager or the company didn't see you as the good fit. They didn't see you as the guy who would do the grunt work and do it. They saw you as a person who's going to be like, no, I am super skilled and this is the only quality of work I'll do. I won't do this type of work. Because everyone, I know you're surrounded by coders and you'll find these characters everywhere who say that we write a clean and great code, or otherwise we don't even touch anything else. And I had those personalities. Those personalities used to get hired because you were building products at that time. Now the products are done and you want to maintain them and you want to build efficiency. So there's a lot of grunt work that required. And people who are higher on the technical skill set sometimes, not saying always, but sometimes be like, we don't want to do it. And the second piece is like people have started finding ways to learning those tech skills as they go in the job itself. So they can learn those tech skills, maybe not as good as the other person who's sitting there. Even if they reach 30 to 40% of that and they're still able to hold on to themselves, they'll still have a job rather than the person who's like, no, I'm not going to work on my social skills. I'm just going to do tech.
Right. So this brings me to my next question. So you did mention someone who does not have a traditional tech degree getting into a tech job. So this is because I believe it's so easily available, right? Like you can find certifications everywhere. Like you can find a job description, you can go online, find a certification for it. So what would you say are some of the best certifications to learn in 2025?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. There's so many nowadays. There's so many. But one thing I'll take it by industry and jobs. I know because we've been talking about this is so let's start with project management, for example. You have the tech skills and you want to go in and work in a tech company, but how long can you be a coder, right? How long can you be a software? After a point, you would want something more, right? So you can be a TPM, right? So a TPM would be the technical project manager. Your degree with engineering combined with a PMP, great. Do a cyber certification, do a CSPO, That's absolutely amazing, because what happened was industry all of a sudden skipped cyber. You'll see a lot of people are working on AI ML, a lot of people are working on software development, but you'll find a very few people who are still working on cybersecurity. So anything that you can find which works with cybersecurity, that's a great opportunity for you to work on. Is like, oh, I want to do it, and I want to learn about it. And then comes a certification, because everyone will tell the certification for the people who are great at technology. Maybe you became an engineer, and you're like me, who's like, oh man, I can't code as good as my friend, and you realize that pretty quickly. But you still can code, and you can still know languages. I personally know 10 languages. Can I be an efficient coder in those 10? No. But if you give me the code, I can tell you what it does, right? It's a skill that a lot of businesses are looking for. That's a skill that can help you become a data scientist somewhere. So go and do that. Find a certification for data, build your certification on that. You know how to do an SQL query, you know how to use Python. You're good, you're golden. You just need to get your certification done, build on your soft skills, and you can be a data scientist as well, which still uses your problem solving and tech skills, right? And gives you a place where you wouldn't feel out of place from all the other people who are around you.
Understood. So my understanding is it depends on what industry you want to get into. Yeah. So moving away from the startups, you had all this experience with 2 startups, one solid job, and then you decided to do an MBA.
Yep.
Abroad. How did you come to that decision?
You must have seen my journeys like based off on random decisions that I take one fine day. Like you'll realize it pretty quickly. It's like, how would someone go for a startup and then all of a sudden do Deloitte and then all of a sudden do a startup, right?
My thinking is this guy makes his own path. he does not have any parameters that he needs to follow. He makes his own path and he kills it.
Killing, I don't know, man. It's okay. I'll be very truthful.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored.
Right.
I got bored sitting in COVID. COVID happened. I was there. I was working. COVID was amazing for a problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people like, why you say so? Because I was sitting in my room and I was working in my factory, and my process automation and my machinery was always in trouble. Lockdown happened and machinery was at sea. How do you get it there? You had to go in and get so many things that we had to do, so many loopholes we had to find, so many ways we had to get. When you're doing business, that becomes one. And when I was doing that, I realized how dependent the world is on each other. Right now, if you see most of my experience till 2020, 2022 was just India. While I was working on the second startup and while I was conversating with people from outside, I realized that how interdependent it is. And I'm like, I don't even know how the outside world works, to be really frank. And that's where MBA came in. I was like, let's do it. I'm still the most undereducated person in my family. That's also a case. My father has 3 degrees, my mother has 4, and my sister's a doctor with an MD.
Wow.
So when you're coming from a family like that, and she's younger to me, who's already finishing her MD, when you're coming from a family and you just have a bachelor's, they feel like you are a useless person sitting in the house. And that's how they felt. They looked at me and they're like, are you sure you don't want to do a second degree? And it gets to your head, man. You're 21-year-old. You just came into shitloads of money because you sold your startup. You're working at Deloitte at 21, earning good money. And then 22, you do a second startup. You are managing a staff as big as a 50, 60 people. It gets into your head and you're like, why do I need a second degree? But I realized I needed a second degree. I was too young to stop learning. And I'm like, let's do it. I've already seen one of the top-notch engineering schools in India. So my parents still wanted to like try India again. And then we'll see if you want to go out. I'm like, fine. So I applied, and I didn't want to go into that race again of, oh, let's do a CAT examination for people who are not from India. It's very similar to how our engineering examination is. You sit and you compete for based on how your numbers are, based on what seats are, and I didn't want to do it. And I'm like, no, I want to get it based off my experiences. I want to get it based off my skills that I've built. So went for a GMAT, because GMAT gives you that flexibility that yes, they use that points as the initial check, but even if you have less numbers in your GMAT but a great story to tell, they'll still go for you. So I went for GMAT, applied for ISB, Indian School of Business, got into Indian School of Business, but I realized I didn't want to be a product manager, because ISB has like 900 people in that batch, and everyone, most of them, if not everyone, will end up being a product manager. And I'm like, I've already seen the Indian education. Came out to US and Canada. US financially didn't make sense, because again that business brain kicks in.
Right.
You start looking for ROIs, and every now and then I've been the guy who always want to be a journalist. I wanted to be a guy who can do every bits and pieces, jack of all trades, as a lot of people said. And that's why the MBA in Canada made sense, because the entrepreneurship was booming. And I was like, yes, I want to do something of my own, but I want to get those skill set. I want to learn about it, how this country functions. And that's how I ended up with my MBA at Schulich.
Wow. Wow, that's really inspirational. So, how did your MBA help you in the job market and kind of help you stand out from the others? Obviously, you had 2 startups going for you. That's already a big achievement, but how did just the MBA help you elevate as an entrepreneur?
So, MBA depends upon what you want to do, right? MBA can be a certification. MBA can be a specialization in marketing. It can be a specialization in finance if you want to do, or you can go and study entrepreneurship. Personally, if you ask me, I don't think so anyone can teach you entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is instinct. Entrepreneurship is great. Or entrepreneurship is hustle. Someone can tell you can do this, but they can't teach you how to do that, right?
Right.
So what I learned was, when I came for my MBA, I came with an open mind. I was like, I'll do the courses that I like, not the courses which work towards a specialization. When I graduated with my degree, there was 3 specializations I could have completed if I would have just taken one more course in each specialization. I did everything. I wanted to do marketing courses, did marketing courses, did finance courses, did finance courses. I even did arts and media courses, because I wanted to learn how businesses works in the media industry. What if I come up with an idea I wanted to do? I need that knowledge as well, right? So it helped me get the tools and also reiterate something which I had learned from experiences, and gave it a stamp. Is like, yes, your thinking is correct, the way you move is correct. That came from MBA when I started to implement that into it. Gave me the global exposure I was looking for, sent me to Costa Rica to work with an international client. I was a consultant for them, solving problems again. So that solving problems, learning new skills, and honing them, that's what MBA gave me. And gave me a bunch of people with different mindset, which opened my mind to it.
Right. Right. So, just to wrap everything up, it's been an amazing conversation with you. So I'm just gonna ask you this one question, and I believe it'll help our listeners to kind of grasp everything. So, what are the 3 key tips that you would give an engineering student who wants to build their own business?
First is, be crazy. Don't listen to anyone what they say. They'll tell you that, oh, 1% startups only work, 99 fail. Okay. Just say you're the 1%. Build that. Second is, build crazy self-confidence. Build your confidence. That journey breaks you every day. There would be time when you would be like, oh my God, it's not working. What do I do? Don't let it break your confidence. You can have down days. No worries. Get up and start doing it all over again. And when it comes to, and the third one is like, find people, and people who can and who believe in you, the ones that will work, the ones who will stand with you even at your lowest, are the people that you want, apart from your family. The family is like, yeah, we love this guy, but you need to find people who can sit with you, the like-minded ones who's going to fight with you, the ones who want to build something with you. Okay, this one failed, let's build a second one, let's build a third one, let's build a fourth one. Maybe in the third one you realize like, these people don't work for me, but they're great people to have, right? They can still give you the motivation. You can be like, maybe it's not working between us, I tried somewhere else, and then you can bring them in again. So it's about the community you need to be. You cannot sit in a room and be like, now I'll be an entrepreneur, and you become an entrepreneur. No, man. You have to be around people who have the like-mindedness, who want to try out, who want to be hustlers like you. And I know you asked 3, but I didn't want to miss out the most important piece, which is take risks, which ties to the first one. When I say be crazy, take risks. Do not back down from taking a risk. It's that millisecond of hesitation, which sometimes makes you like, oh, should I do it? Do it. What's the worst that can happen? You'll fail. Just get up and do it again.
Wow. No, that resonated with me a lot, and yeah, I bet it resonated with most of our listeners. And yeah, man, you have that skill of like trying relentlessly, and I feel like that's very important. And yeah, thank you so much. It has been an honor to have you as our first guest on this show, and I am so excited to see the amazing things that you're going to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's been all from my side. Thank you.